Ladies and gentlemen, every day you walk into a world where people will test you, intentionally or not. Someone will cut you off, someone will lie to you, someone will disrespect you, and in those moments your emotions will rise like a tide, ready to take control. But here's the truth: anger is easy, reaction is easy. What's hard is holding the line. What's rare is staying calm when you have every reason not to be. This isn't about pretending to be unbothered. It's about building the kind of inner strength that can't be shaken. Because if anyone can control your mood, then anyone can control your life. Today, I'm not here to tell you how to avoid difficult people. I'm here to show you how to become the kind of person no one can disturb. This is how to never get angry and never be bothered by anyone. Before you confront the world, you must first confront yourself. The greatest battle you will ever fight will not be against enemies, rivals, or the people who misunderstand you. It will be against your own impulses, fears, and uncontrolled emotions. That is the inner battlefield. It's silent, it's invisible, but it decides the outcome of everything else. You see, anger doesn't come from what people do to you. It comes from how unprepared you are to face what people do to you. It comes from weakness, mental, emotional, and spiritual, and weakness doesn't announce itself. It hides behind excuses. It justifies its presence by blaming others. He disrespected me. She ignored me. They treated me unfairly. But none of that would shake you if you had mastery over your inner state. Mastery begins with awareness. Most people are completely unconscious of how reactive they are. A slight, a rude comment, a dismissive gesture, and suddenly they're triggered. Their heart rate spikes, their mind spins with imaginary arguments, the other person hasn't even finished speaking, and they've already lost control. That is not strength, that is slavery to emotion. And the worst part, it's predictable. Anyone who knows your buttons can push them at will. That means they own you, your emotions are their property. That should disturb you. To change this, you don't need to suppress your emotions. You need to discipline them. Suppression is avoidance. Discipline is ownership. You look your anger in the eye and ask, why are you here? What are you protecting? You investigate your triggers like a commander reviewing a battle. Feel, analyzing what went wrong, where the lines broke, and how to fortify them for the next encounter. Mastering your inner battlefield also means preparing before the battle starts. It's mental preconditioning. When you wake up each morning, you don't just scroll your phone and wander into the day hoping nothing sets you off. You sit with yourself. You set your tone. You visualize resistance. You imagine someone insulting you, someone disrespecting you, someone undercutting you. And then you practice staying composed. Not because you expect the world to be cruel, but because it sometimes is. And you don't train for the calm, you train for the chaos. Routines matter, habits matter, the way you breathe, the way you move, the way you speak. All of it is part of how you show up in the heat of the moment. If you speak in a panic, if you move without purpose, if you let your breathing run wild, you're already at a disadvantage. That's why the warrior trains until calm is his default setting. Not because he was born with it, but because he refused to live without it. The inner battlefield is not won in one day. It's a campaign, daily battles, small wins, setbacks, lessons, and most of all, relentless self-discipline. The man who can command his mind when insulted, provoked, or threatened, without needing to yell or strike, is not weak. He is unconquerable. There is a voice inside you that flares up the second you feel disrespected. It says, how dare they? It says they don't know who they're talking to. That voice isn't your strength, it's your ego. And until you learn to separate your emotional reactions from that fragile, loud-mouthed part of yourself, you will always be easy to provoke. The ego feeds off perceived status, identity, control, and superiority. It wants to be admired, it wants to be right, it wants to be respected, even feared. So when someone challenges you, criticizes you, interrupts you, or ignores you, your ego treats it like an attack. And what happens? Emotion floods in. Anger, frustration, resentment. You feel the need to defend yourself, not because anything real is at risk, but because your ego has been bruised. But here's the truth. Your ego is not you. It's a mask you wear. It's the collection of titles, labels, and sell. images you've built around yourself to feel important. And when you believe that mask is your identity, you'll react to every challenge as if your survival depends on it. Detaching emotion from ego starts with recognition. Ask yourself, why did that comment make me angry? Why does being overlooked bother me? Why do I feel disrespected by something as small as someone not returning my call or using the wrong tone? If you dig deep enough, most of those reactions trace back to pride. Not principle, not morality, pride. A fragile need to be acknowledged, validated, or seen a certain way. This is where the discipline begins. You stop assuming every offense is personal. Most of the time it's not. People are acting out their own insecurities, moods, and limitations. What they say or do says more about them than about you. But your ego doesn't care about that. It cares that someone saw you as less. That's where the emotion kicks in, and that's where you have to cut the wire. You don't eliminate ego through denial. You tame it through awareness. When the surge of emotion rises, don't suppress it. But don't obey it either. Step back, watch it, trace it. Where is it coming from? Is this really about values or just vanity? Is this about what's right or about looking right? Your power lies in that pause, the gap between trigger and reaction. To be emotionally unshakable, you must be willing to be underestimated. You must be willing to be misunderstood, insulted, even mocked, and not feel the need to retaliate. Not because you're weak, but because you've got nothing to prove. You've severed the link between your ego and your emotions. That gives you clarity. That gives you command. When your sense of self is no longer tied to how others see you or treat you, you no longer hand them the controls. You're no longer at the mercy of their approval, their opinions, or their behavior. You've taken your emotional power back where it belongs. There's a hard truth most people run from their entire lives. You are not in control of much. You can't control the weather. You can't control traffic. You can't control how other people think, speak, or behave. You can't force someone to respect you. You can't stop someone from lying, cheating, or quitting. The list of what's outside your command is endless, but that's not weakness. It's clarity. The problem begins when you waste your energy trying to dominate things that don't answer to you. Anger lives in that space, the space where expectations meet reality. You expect someone to act a certain way, and they don't. You expect a situation to unfold smoothly, and it doesn't. You count on a result that never comes. That gap, the frustration, the emotional reaction, that's the cost of fighting battles you were never meant to fight. You're drawing your sword in a storm, trying to cut the wind, but what is under your control? Your thoughts, your breath, your actions, your discipline, your perspective. That's your battlefield. That's your post. And it's more than enough to keep you busy for a lifetime. Mastering just that is more difficult and more powerful than spending your life trying to fix everyone else. People who struggle with anger almost always ignore this distinction. They put more effort into controlling others than into controlling themselves. They want people to behave the right way, by their definition. They want perfect service, constant agreement, unwavering attention. And the moment they don't get it, they explode, because deep down, they believe the world owes them cooperation. It doesn't. The mindset shift is this: stop managing the world. Start managing yourself in the world. You don't need the traffic to move faster. You need to adjust your schedule, your mindset, or your reaction. You don't need your colleague to suddenly become competent. You need to decide how you'll carry yourself regardless of their performance. You don't need fairness, you need readiness. Most of life is going to be unfair, inconvenient, uncomfortable, and your peace cannot depend on those conditions. There's power in radical acceptance, not surrender, not indifference, but the clarity to say, this is how it is right now. I will act, not react. That mindset lets you move forward without wasting emotional fuel on what you can't steer. You're no longer stuck in resentment, complaint, or fantasy. You're operating from reality, not from a script of how things should be. This doesn't mean you don't care. It doesn't mean you stop trying to influence what matters. But you learn the difference between influence and control. You give your best effort, but you don't cling to the outcome. You prepare for resistance, but you don't personalize it. You don't beg for smooth seas. You learn to sail through rough ones. Because you finally understand that peace doesn't come from controlling the storm. It comes from controlling your presence within it. You don't become unshakable by accident. You don't wake up one day immune to anger, frustration, or weakness. That kind of mental fortitude doesn't show up. It's built rep by rep, day by day. And the people who build it treat their mind the same way a warrior treats his blade. With discipline, with routine, with purpose. The world doesn't slow down, and neither does the training. Mental strength isn't something you tap into when life gets chaotic. It's something you prepare every single day before the chaos comes. Most people are reactionary. They wait until a crisis hits before they try to stabilize themselves. That's too late. The warrior doesn't wait for war to prepare. He trains in the dark, in the cold, in silence, so that when the battle arrives, there's no panic, only precision. This applies to your emotions just as much as your body. You want to stop getting angry over every insult. You want to stop being rattled by someone else's ignorance or disrespect. Then you don't just hope for peace, you train for it. You train your breathing. You train your thoughts. You train your ability to sit in discomfort without lashing out. And you do it daily, not occasionally, not when it's easy, especially when it's not. The average person gets up, checks their phone, and is emotionally hijacked before they even brush their teeth. A message they didn't like, a headline that sets them off, a comment on social media. They're already reacting. Already in defense mode. That's not training, that's surrender. The warrior's day starts on his terms, with silence, with structure, with intention. Training is about choosing discomfort on purpose every day, so you're not shocked by it when life throws it at you. Cold showers, early mornings, hard workouts, journaling through your resistance, sitting still when your mind screams to escape. These aren't rituals of punishment, they're rituals of preparation. They teach you that you can feel pressure without folding, feel pain without running, feel anger without being ruled by it. This mindset doesn't happen by accident. It's built in the routine, built in the repetition. And it's never convenient. Training doesn't care how tired you are, how busy you are, how stressed you are. It only asks, are you committed or not? Training daily like a warrior also means protecting your mental terrain. You choose what you allow into your space, what conversations, what media, what energy. You build focus like a fortress, knowing that every distraction is a crack in your armor. You choose growth over comfort, reflection over reaction, purpose over impulse. Most people want peace without discipline. They want composure without confrontation, especially the confrontation with themselves. But the warrior doesn't avoid that fight. He enters it every morning. He builds structure so strong that chaos doesn't stand a chance. Because he knows that when the time comes to stay calm in the face of insult, pressure, or betrayal, it won't be a surprise. It will be a habit engraved through relentless repetition. There's a discipline in treating people with respect. Not because they've earned it, not because they agree with you, and not because they deserve it, but because you hold yourself to a higher standard. Respect is not a reaction. It's a decision. It's a reflection of your self-control, not their behavior. And the moment you make your respect conditional, you hand over your emotional stability to the people around you. Respect everyone. That includes the loud, the rude, the arrogant, the petty. It doesn't mean you tolerate abuse. It doesn't mean you let people walk over you. It means you remain grounded. You keep your tone. You hold your line. You refuse to lower your level just because someone else lost theirs. You don't match energy. You lead it. That kind of composure is rare, because most people are reactive. They operate on a simple formula. If you respect me, I'll respect you. But that's not strength. That's transaction. That's fragile. That means anyone, at any moment, can dictate your behavior with theirs. They snap at you, so you snap back. They ignore you, so you act cold. They gossip, so you retaliate. You're not in control in that equation. You're just mirroring. A disciplined mind doesn't play that game. It says, you're going to get my respect because I've already decided that's who I am. You don't set my standard, I do. And then there's the second part, expect nothing. That's the one that really breaks people. They treat others kindly, but deep down, they're still waiting for a return, a thank you, a compliment, a show of appreciation, and when it doesn't come, frustration, resentment. The mind says, after everything I did, this is how they treat me. That's the trap. That's the quiet contract you signed without realizing it. The one that says your peace depends on their response. You want real freedom, let go of that contract. Give without keeping score. Show up without demanding applause. Help without assuming it'll come back around. When you drop your expectations, you drop your vulnerability to disappointment. No one can let you down if you weren't leaning on them to begin with. Now, this doesn't mean you stop being smart. It doesn't mean you keep people in your life who consistently disrespect you. But even when you walk away, you do it with clarity, not bitterness. You don't curse their name. You don't carry grudges. You don't turn cold. You keep your dignity because that's the one thing no one should ever be able to take from you. Respect everyone, not because they've proven themselves, but because you've proven yourself. Expect nothing, not because people can't be good, but because your peace isn't up for negotiation. That's not being cold, it's being steady. Being in command of your own energy, your own actions, your own code. When the world gets loud, rude, unfair, you don't flinch. You stay on course because your standard isn't based on what you get. It's based on who you are. There's a critical difference between reacting and responding. One is automatic, impulsive, and driven by raw emotion. The other is deliberate, calm, and rooted in purpose. The person who reacts is ruled by the moment. The person who responds is ruled by their mission. And if you want to stop being thrown off course by every insult, every setback, every unpredictable variable life throws your way, you have to train yourself to respond with purpose, not emotion. When someone speaks to you with disrespect, your first instinct might be to fire back. That's the reaction. It feels powerful in the moment, but it's not. It's predictable. It's the path everyone takes. The same goes for envy, defensiveness, frustration. Each of those is a signal that you're not in control, you're just running a program. Emotion has grabbed the wheel, and now you're just a passenger. Now contrast that with a response. A real response requires a pause, a breath, a moment to process. Not to suppress the feeling, but to ask yourself, what outcome do I want? What's my objective here? Is this about ego or is this about principle? Am I solving the problem or feeding it? That pause is what separates amateurs from professionals, followers from leaders and noise, makers from decision makers. Responding with purpose means stepping above the moment, seeing the bigger picture. It's knowing that most arguments aren't worth winning if you lose your composure in the process. It's understanding that silence can be stronger than a perfectly worded comeback, that walking away is often a show of discipline, not defeat. Purpose demands strategy, emotion demands attention, and when you give in to emotion, you're not serving your goals. You're serving your impulses. There's a place for emotion, but it's not in the driver's seat. Emotion should inform you, not command you. Anger might alert you to a boundary being crossed, but it shouldn't dictate your words. Fear might signal risk, but it shouldn't stop your action. Disappointment might sting, but it shouldn't define your future. When you let emotion decide your next move, you're gambling. When you let purpose decide, you're operating with precision. Training this doesn't happen once, it happens daily. Every interaction is an opportunity to choose. Someone cuts you off in traffic. Do you lash out or let it go? Someone undermines you at work. Do you retaliate or stay composed and plot your next step with clarity? Someone posts something offensive. Do you dive into a pointless debate or stay focused on your lane? Purpose is not passive. It's not weak. It's targeted. It knows what it's aiming for and doesn't waste energy on anything that doesn't move it forward. Emotional control isn't about being cold. It's about being effective. You speak because it serves the mission, not because your pride needs to be soothed. You act because it aligns with your standards, not because you're trying to prove a point. You stay focused on the outcome, not the noise surrounding it in a world full of distractions, provocations, and emotional traps. The ability to remain calm, focused, and unshaken is a mark of true strength. When you master your inner battlefield, detach ego from emotion, control only what's yours, train your mind daily, respect others without expectation, and respond with purpose, not impulse. You no longer move through life as a victim of circumstance. You move as a leader of yourself. No one controls your peace unless you hand it over. Choose discipline over reaction, clarity over chaos, and strength over ego. That's how you become untouchable, not by force, but by command.